We're discussing AI startups today on CXOTalk episode 871 in a conversation with Arvind Jain, the founder and CEO of Glean. He was a distinguished engineer at Google before starting and taking public cybersecurity company Rubrik. Glean has raised $600 million and is valued at almost $5 billion.
Glean is an enterprise AI company. Think of it as Google or ChatGPT, but inside your company. So that's what we do.
And you are a, shall we say, born in AI or AI native company. So you're the perfect person to help us understand what's going on with startups, AI startups today.
Absolutely. We are, in fact, I think, the first company to bring the transformer technology to the enterprises. And so, yeah, it's a lot of great learnings, starting as a native Gen AI company 6 years back.
Gen AI company for 6 years. That's well before the marketing hype surrounding ChatGPT and OpenAI.
That's true. In fact, the term Gen AI did not exist at that time, but the core technology that powers Gen AI, the transformers, they were there, and we were using them, in early 2019 to understand enterprise data, knowledge, information at a really deep level using AI, and then making it all searchable, for people inside a company.
Can you describe the differences between AI startups and traditional technology startups?
Every company, first of all, whether you're a startup or you are a mature company, I think AI is becoming such a core fundamental tool that you've got to use in products that you build, because that's the way to sort of stay ahead. That's the way to actually build new amazing things. So I actually feel like, this, my view is that probably all startups that you think of today, you can call them all AI startups. But maybe the other way to look into this is that there are some companies, that are actually building core foundational technologies. For example, they're building models, they're building infrastructure to actually train models. And maybe, that's sort of like, I would say one set of companies. But then the vast majority of AI startups that are getting started today are companies that are thinking about solving a business problem, a consumer problem, where they feel that AI and, the new reasoning and generation capabilities is going to play a big role in the product that they're going to build. But like us living in the AI world, all the startups that I engage with, I've actually not seen a single startup that is not, that's not actually making AI a big part of their core tech stack.
As AI has matured, there's become a greater clarity that AI, as you just described, must support the solving of some business problem.
Mm-hmm.
For AI startups, where the centerpiece is that AI technology, what are the differences from, again, traditional software companies where, yes, they're solving a business problem, but the technology is very different, the underlying foundations?
AI technology, moves very fast. It changes, at a very rapid pace. So when you think about product development, the new AI startups, they're able to, first of all, they're very lean. They're able to actually do a lot of things, because software programming, building systems with AI, these things are becoming, much easier than in the pre-AI world. So I think the again, I struggle with your question, because from my vantage point, when you think about investment that is happening, most of the investment from venture capital actually is coming into companies that are making AI a big part of their story. And so I can compare more with let's say that startups, that were getting started 2 years back versus today. The key difference between them is, well, thinking about this new model where you can truly build products, which are a lot more powerful, a lot more capable than what you would have even, thought of a couple years back. But but as such, I think from a company building perspective, a startup is a startup. We are an AI company, and when I compare this with my previous startup, I would say that most of what we do doesn't change. We still have to think about a core business problem. We have to figure out how we're going to actually solve that, how we're going to build great technology, and the teams to then sort of bring that technology to our customers. So personally, I have this feeling that yes, AI is becoming a big part of our technology stack, but fundamentally how we build and design companies is not changing, except for maybe one thing. You do hear sometimes companies saying that, well, now with AI you can actually have a one-person company that can generate $1 billion, because and then so you see a little bit of that, in the new generation of companies. You are seeing some of these AI companies scaling up revenue at a pace that the previous generation of SaaS companies couldn't. We saw some, I read these examples all the time, startup actually reaching $20 million in revenue 2 months after it's got started, or a company that's at 100 million run rate within the first year. These things are not possible in many ways in the pre-AI world. But given how fast you can actually build products, and how different your products can be compared to the current products in the market, it's allowing people to actually just fundamentally scale at a different pace and level than the previous generation of startups.
I just want everybody to know that you can ask your questions right now on Twitter. There's a tweet chat, on X, I should say. There's a tweet chat, an X chat taking place. Use the hashtag CXOTalk if you want to ask your questions. If you're watching on LinkedIn, just pop your questions into the chat. Arvind, you raise a very interesting point just now, how AI startups can generate so much revenue with relatively few people. What is it about AI, this technology, and the nature of the startups that are happening around this to enable this phenomenon?
So first, you can actually build products that are very different in their capabilities than than things that are out there. Well, when you think about, for example, software development, um, there are companies that are offering new development environments, which allows developers to go 5 times faster than what they could before. And so there is such a big leap in the capabilities that these products bring, which creates that instant excitement in the market for them. These new coding tools, even for us, as a native Gen AI company, we see it every day. People just they want to use these tools. There is a there is a big demand from the ground up. There's love for these new AI products. That's incredible, and that is what's allowing them to actually launch a product in the market, have a PSG motion, and there you go, people come in, they want to use these products. So it's I think largely it's driven by these brand new amazing capabilities and software doing things that people didn't expect it could do. So I think that's the biggest part. That's what creates that excitement and then instant demand. But the other thing which is actually allowing these companies to have this success, in a short duration of time, is that free software development itself has gotten very accelerated. When you use these new tools, you can build products which are a lot more capable than current products that we have in the market, and you can do that in a short period of time. You can actually build something amazing, in a month, in 2 months, something that used to take you like a year or 2 years before. So that's the other factor that is actually shrinking these cycles for these companies.
So you have this combination of tremendous interest and market demand combined with significant developer productivity increases as a result
That's right.
of the tools. Is that a correct way of saying it?
That's right. Yes.
We have an interesting question coming from LinkedIn, and this is from Santosh Sirivol, who says, who is actually using and paying for AI services?
AI has captured everybody's imagination. There is no enterprise in the world today that feels that well, like we can look into AI like a few years from now. Everybody knows that they have to act, they have to embrace AI today if you want to be if you want to stay relevant. And so starting from that like high level desire to actually bring AI into your enterprise. Now what we're seeing is that there are a few different ways how people are bringing AI into the company. One is the CIO. CIOs obviously hold the the responsibility to bring the right set of technologies to the entire working population of your enterprise. So they are taking the leadership in terms of bringing broadly applicable useful products that are AI based to their enterprise. And that's for us. For example, at Glean, they are our primary personas too, because Glean as a tool, it's a knowledge access tool. Like people go to Glean, they ask questions, we quickly answer those questions for them using all of the enterprise context and data and knowledge. And so that's a tool that's actually every knowledge worker, like, whether you're an engineer, a support person, somebody in HR or IT or sales, all of you have the need for that. All of us have questions. All of us have tasks that we think AI can do for us now. So it's a broad tool, and CIOs are the ones who actually typically will purchase a company-wide tool like that. But then you also have every individual functional leader. If you are head of support, if you are the CTO, and you're trying to actually make sure that your engineers, your developers are productive with AI. If you're a salesperson, the sales leader, and you want to make sure that you're using modern ways to prospect, to reach out to your customers, to actually have powerful engagements with them. Function by function, you're seeing every functional leader in the enterprises looking into and evaluating AI tools and bringing them on board. So this is a very, very broad phenomena, industry wide, vertical wide, geographical. I've been traveling a lot across the world. I don't see any company that is not paying attention to AI, any country that's not paying attention to AI either. So this is, is everyone really is the answer. Is bringing AI into their enterprises.
Subscribe to our newsletter. Join our community. Go to CXOTalk.com. Subscribe to the newsletter. Check it out. So it's following a traditional enterprise software purchase process in a way, because as you just described, you've got IT and the CIO, and at the same time, you have a functional line of business leaders, HR, whatever, marketing, whatever it might be. Both of these groups are looking at AI products. And I'm assuming this comes right back to what you were saying earlier, which is the core issue. It's not actually the technology, it's the business problem that's being solved.
Yes.
We have a very interesting question from LinkedIn, and keep your questions coming in. We have some questions on Twitter as well, and we're going to get to all of these. Risha Varshni asks, how do your offerings address the AI ethics, jailbreak, prompt leakage, and AI transparency / interpretability risks? And I'll just mention that Risha is Senior Director of Risk Systems Development at Freddie Mac. And of course, financial services is keenly interested in these topics.
So Glean is an enterprise AI solution. We work with the largest enterprises out there in different industry verticals. We work a lot with financial services, and these risks are all very real. I think with AI, it's a very powerful technology, and it's also it's grounds for innovation and folks who are trying to actually create security problems, and you have to be very, very careful in terms of rolling the technologies in the right way, in a secure way, and also like in a way which basically ensures that you know the technology is unbiased and it's it's doing stuff that you think is safe for your in your context in your enterprise. So some I'll give you some examples of like things problems that you have to solve on the security front. One of the key things with AI is that if you're going to make it useful for your enterprise, your for your organization, you have to take these language models that are built using the public web data. They don't really know much about your enterprise and your your information, your data, and so somehow you have to figure out how you're going to actually connect that enterprise context with the power of these language models and do it in a safe and secure way. For example, if you trained a model and you connected all of your enterprise data and knowledge, with that model, and now anybody can go inside your company and ask questions. Well, it's going to leak a lot of sensitive data to people who should not have actually, have access to that information because enterprise data and knowledge is very no, it's private in nature. Like like a given document, like only a few people may have access to it inside the company. So you can't take like content wholesale like in your enterprise and just train or build an AI system with it. Any AI system that you build, it has to understand who's using that particular system or software, and how do you make sure that AI only uses information that this person is entitled to, is allowed to use inside the company and create those safe and secure AI experiences. So that's one of the problems that we solve. Like in Glean, any AI usage, any agent that you build on Glean, it's you have to sort of use that as an employee, and you have to be signed in, and then we will actually ensure that whatever we do for you is done with knowledge and information that you could access to.
I would like you to join the CXO Talk community. So go to CXOTalk.com and sign up for our mailing list so we can notify you about upcoming shows because we have amazing discussions like this. All right, let's go to Twitter and to Arslan Khan, who says, do you think AI will become a simple will become simply plug and play, even for non-technical employees in the enterprise? So the broader ease of use for the rest of us.
Well, absolutely. I'm both hopeful and confident, that that's what's going to happen. I think the true power of AI will be realized when it's, so easy to use. You can actually do things with AI as a business user. You should not be required to understand like how to code, how to build systems. Be an engineer. You like as for example, like let's say you are an employee in the legal department and you review contracts every day, and it's a process that takes you a lot of time, and you should be able to just ask AI. You can and say that like, look, this is how I review a contract. This is the process that I follow, and you should be able to just say that to an AI system that actually then goes and agentifies that particular business process for you, automates it for you. So AI has to truly become accessible like that. With our agentic platform, that's what we do. We are actually really thinking about how to make this technology super accessible. Like make sure that it doesn't matter who you are. You could be in HR, in finance, and legal, and you don't need to know anything about AI, how it works, like what are language models. Like that's not like that's not what you need to worry about. You need to just like work with a smart. You like working with AI should be like working with a really smart person who you could actually go and give some work to. You just tell them like how like how this work needs to happen, and then AI just makes it happen for you. That's the model that you're going to see with any like the agent AI agent platforms that are going to succeed in the market are going to be of that nature. Like you have to elevate like the capabilities of these systems. You have to make them more accessible to non-technical users. And the other thing that I also add to it, like to go one more step beyond that, people are not seeking help from AI as much as you would expect. Like, we all have habits. We do things the way we do, like, or like there's a lot of inertia in terms of, like, thinking about, like, well, should I do this task differently? Like, people don't think that way. Like, you don't have time often, like, most of the times you don't even have time to think about, well, should I change, like, the way I work. And so it's not only that AI has to be easy and you need to be able to summon it and, get it to do work for you. AI also has to follow you, and it has to come to you and say that, look, hey, I'm observing that you're doing this work every day and spending, 2 hours trying to get this work done, and I can help you with it. So, it has to come to you. And that is when, like, you really, see people will embrace the technology at a large scale.
I'm looking forward to that day happening because I can tell you, I use large language models every day, and I use multiple language models and different modes, research, non research, and so forth. And so much depends on the model you're using. It seems the time of day, the phases of the moon, how you construct your prompt, and then the whole thing's just a pain in the butt.
Yeah, it is hard. Like, it's not easy today. And then, by the way, you are using, like, what I would say, probably one of the most, one of the most accessible tools. Like, you're just talking to a system like in natural language. Yes, you have a few knobs to select here and there. But it's going to get easier. Like, and that's what our job is. At Glean, like, one of the things that we do is, so we're not an LLM company. We're not, building and training these foundation models. But we are, like, our goal is to see that you, as a business user, how do we make sure that all this innovation that's happening in the industry, how do we make it more accessible to you, and make things easy, as seamless as, like, again, like, the working model for me with AI is, well, AI is like a smart human that's been in your company from day one. They know everything about your company. They know all the people. They've read all the documents. All they've been part of every single meeting, and they're ready to now help you 24/7. Just ask them what you want, and they do it for you. Like, that's the right model for when, AI is going to deliver true value in the enterprise.
Greg Walter says Glean looks to be the glue or connector between disparate databases. Do you see a future where this function is no longer needed?
Enterprise environments are so complex today. Any large enterprise, they have, like, thousands of systems, data repositories, databases, unstructured, data repositories, documents. And the like the true magic of AI happens when you have access to all of that information across all of these different systems. Um, Maybe, like, I think things are definitely going to get simpler in the sense that, AI is going to get smarter and smarter, like, in terms of, being able to connect with all of those different systems over time. And a lot of things that we do today at Glean, like, which we have to actually do a lot of hard work for, to actually connect with these different enterprise systems. Like, we do expect, it to get easier over time. So yes, like, some, like, I think that's the, if the answer is that, like, the complexities are not going to go away, then I think AI is not doing its job.
Dave Brace on LinkedIn asks, is it likely that non-deterministic agentic systems can honestly prove that they are truly trustworthy in the enterprise, and that business leaders can trust products like Glean to make thousands of business decisions every day?
AI is non-deterministic. It can also be wrong. It can hallucinate. And to some degree, like, humans are also like that. Like, if you have questions and you go and ask somebody, like, sometimes, they don't have the full context. They're going to give you an answer, and it may be wrong or it may be incomplete. And so I think that's the fundamental thing to remember, that, these AI systems are actually more like humans, and less like machines, that we're used to. Um, and now you have to figure out, like, well, how do I use this technology? Like, this is not perfect. It's gonna make mistakes. So how do I trust it, with, my mission critical processes where precision is actually, absolutely required. Um, and so there are a few different strategies that I would say that, like, as an enterprise you can think about. There's a lot of work where you don't need precision. Work where you need creativity, and that's where like this technology is already really, really well suited to do. Um, but then when you think about like tasks that require precision, AI can be actually used in a few different ways. So one is that let's say that there's a business process, and now you're going to agentify that business process. You're going to automate it. You're going to ask AI to understand that business process and come up with a plan, with a workflow to actually execute that business process from now on. And so when you use AI in this fashion, like you will go and ask AI to actually build that agent for you, and like maybe to make mistakes, and but you should be there, go and supervise it, like go and like ask it to tweak its work, go manually fix, edit it, and ultimately in that collaboration with AI, you actually encode and build that agent, that workflow. But now this workflow is deterministic. Like you put some investment in it. AI helped you like build this workflow very quickly, but you were totally in control. You were monitoring it. You've gotten it into a place where now, as I said, it's deterministic, and now this business process can actually run, and it is okay. Like you don't need full automation. Like you can actually work with AI, and spend like that initial time, like an hour or two. But now you're gonna have like this automation for years, because and it's no longer non-deterministic. So you have to think about it. Like the technology allows you to do great things, and you don't have to rely on AI to actually make complex decisions behind the scenes. You can actually work with it initially, and build deterministic systems with it as well.
So you're describing essentially the role of that phrase we often hear, the human in the loop. And what's the
Yes.
appropriate relationship between the person and the AI system that at this stage of development is a tool, rather than I'm looking at LinkedIn and Greg Walters says the true magic of AI replacing old standard applications.
Let's take some examples. We initially were talking about a legal person that reviews contracts. Now, if you get a 100-page, agreement, customer agreement, um, and it's going to take you like a week or 2 weeks to actually go and review this and make sure that all the terms and conditions meet your enterprise's requirements, and you have to redline this document. Um, and and you can say that like well, I don't trust AI to do this for me, like this is pretty sensitive stuff. But well, get AI to do the first version of the redlining, and it's going to do a great job. Like if you just tell it like how you do it, you tell that to AI, is going to get 90% of the way there. And if it gets 90% of the way there, and now you can actually like fine tune that and finish that work with your context and know-how, well, like that 2-week task now is actually a 1-day task for you. And that's big. Like you don't have to actually like aim for 100% automation, and like remove yourself from the task completely. Like this we can I'm very happy if I get 90%. It's a big impact to the business.
This is from Gersharon S. on LinkedIn, who says, which agents are driving the most value in large enterprise functions? Even better if you have examples in an industrial AI context. And I should mention that Gersharon is an AI product manager in metals mining. So which agents are driving the most value in enterprise functions?
Top use cases for AI today in the enterprise um, are the following three. Number one is general knowledge access and assistance. So, you are a knowledge worker. You may be in healthcare or financial services or industrial sector, and you have questions. You have questions that you need answers to. You have information that you need to do your tasks, and you use AI to actually help you with that. So like tools like ChatGPT, or tools like Glean, like inside your company, that are just general purpose. They're not meant for a specific use case. They're basically knowledge tools. Like they help you. They make knowledge accessible from the world, from your enterprise to you, so that you can move faster with your task. That's the number one use case for AI today. And it's not surprising, because like this whole revolution was catalyzed by ChatGPT, and so that's the application that comes to everybody's mind when they think about AI. Um, the second use case is, I would say, for software development, which is around code generation, like developers task, like how you build systems, develop technology that's fundamentally changing with AI. So that's a very powerful use case, a lot of traction there. And then the third one I would say is, is around service. When I say service, I mean, um, folks who are actually um, like taking questions, taking complaints, tasks from their customers or their internal employees. So these are like customer service teams, IT, internal IT help desk, HR help desk, folks like who are servicing other people's requests and demands, like taking your company's data and knowledge and automating a lot of that interaction with AI. That's the big use case. So functionally, those are the three top applications. And I think like across industry verticals, like those, that's what we're seeing. So like, yeah, I'll give you some examples on customer service. So we have like these large telcos, that have like 50,000 or even 100,000 customer care agents day in day out. Like they are getting questions from their customers that they need to quickly answer. And if you make those transactions twice as fast, like those are hundreds of millions of dollars of savings, for those teams. So like that's a very powerful use case for AI today, for Glean. um, we already talked about software development, we have large enterprises, in industrial sector, in retail, where you are fundamentally changing how you use AI to build systems faster, to test them, to review code, to troubleshoot. These are some of the key use cases as well, for across the industry.
This is again from Arsalan Khan on Twitter. He says AI might be able to automate standard operating procedures, but what about the institutional knowledge that resides in people's heads? And he says, isn't this a significant job security issue?
Today, AI, like even with Glean, we are able to actually tap into a lot of your institutional knowledge, to then create these powerful, chat GPT like experiences, where you can come and ask questions and you can answer that using, that institutional knowledge. When you think about institutional knowledge, like it's actually present in a few different form factors. You have documents inside your company, where people write stuff. You have ticketing systems. You have like databases, CRM systems. So there's a lot of wealth of knowledge inside each one of these different systems. But then there's also a lot of knowledge in communication tools like email or Slack. And and increasingly, enterprises are changing behavior so that they can capture more and more of that institutional knowledge. One example of that is that, well, if two people are going to actually talk and have a meeting, record that meeting, or at least capture the summary of that what happened in that meeting, and make it available to AI so that it can be tapped into in the future. So I think so that's these are all the things that you can do today. We capture all these forms of institutional knowledge to then actually make that knowledge work for you as an individual and help you. Um, and is driving that, like now people are also more motivated to actually capture this information more. In our company, for example, we now record like every non one-on-one meeting, if it's a confidential meeting between an employee and a manager, we won't. But if it's about if it's about a technical discussion, it's about like getting some work done, we'll typically record those meetings so that like all of that data is available to AI in the future to help us. So that's but now coming back to your second question on, well, does it actually create an issue with job security? I believe that the like as an individual, the strategy for you to make sure that you stay relevant is go and learn AI. These tools are amazing, and don't think of AI as something that's going to take a job away from you. I don't think AI is that powerful. I don't think it's going to do it for most people. But you'll certainly lose edge against somebody else who knows how to use these AI tools and work faster and better than you. So I think I think that what as individuals, what we need to do is Like it has been always like that. Like, when new technologies come, folks who embrace them, who quickly try to learn them, are the ones who come out ahead.
I think this is a very important point, and I certainly give people that same advice that you must be learning how to use AI to make yourself faster, better, more efficient. And there are so many jobs that will get displaced. So if you're listening and you're not doing that, well, I'm assuming if you're listening to CXO Talk, you are doing that. But so tell the folks you work with who maybe are not so far on the cutting edge. Give them that advice. It's good advice. Uh, so let's come back to startups. And we have a question from Twitter directly on startups. And this is from Gus Beckdash, who says, Arvind, what advice do you have for people forming AI ventures? Many make the mistake of choosing problems that the platforms will take over, making their companies irrelevant.
I actually don't believe, first of all, that if you start a company, if you start to solve a problem, that you're going to fail because of somebody else, because of, like, for example, an incumbent or a large company actually solving that problem and solving them before you. You got to have a firm belief, like as an entrepreneur, that you can solve the problem faster than a large company. A large company always has lots and lots of things to actually worry about, do. They're structurally not designed in a way that they can move faster than you, like as a really, as a nimble early startup. So I don't actually agree with that premise of like people making that mistake. Most of the time startups fail because people give up, because you lose confidence in your own idea. You don't have enough conviction. Because if there's a real problem, well, you have the right to go and solve it, and you will be. And competition is not something that's going to matter. So with that said, the like I will add to, what's the right strategy for you to choose as a founder. Well, pick, I always like to pick problems which are, um first of all, they're obvious. If you go and talk to five people, they will not argue with you that, hey, is this a problem or not. I think if they're already, if you talk to first five people and you don't have that clarity, but from them, then there's something wrong, and you got to work a little bit more on your idea. So get to that level where, whoever you talk to actually agree with you that, yes, you're solving a real, important problem. And also, I like to work on problems which have broader impact. So big problems, that a lot of people are going to have, because that's going to actually create more opportunities for you. Even if there are a few other companies that also solve the same problem, well, there's a large market that you can tap into, and you'll have your own success, along with them. And then over time, if you do the best, that you're going to win, over everybody else. And then the last thing I would add is, don't you know don't you know come up with an idea where you feel like, well, all I need to do is use AI, and it's going to actually solve this particular task for me. Think about, if it is easy to build, if it is super easy to build, then everybody else can also build it, and then you're not really adding value. So AI should be no more than one of the tools in your toolkit to solve that problem, but make sure that there's something substantial that you're building.
There are so many companies that are building wrappers around the models. What about consolidation among these types of companies as the models advanced their capabilities?
If you are a startup and you are a thin wrapper over the core capabilities of an LLM, well, you'll be irrelevant quite soon. Um, you have to, in the mindset, I'll tell you what we do at Glean. We know that, so the way our product works is that we actually work with all the LLMs that are out there in the market, whether it's LLMs from OpenAI or Anthropic or Google or Meta, or and or so many LLMs from open source. We work with all of them, and our model for what we do is, well, we're going to use all the capabilities that these LLMs, provide to us, and we're going to actually bring those capabilities to our customers. But we'll also be, ensuring that we're building a very deep technology stack on top of that platform. And as the LLMs advance, as they actually add some of those capabilities that we had built ourselves. We have to throw what we built, that the LLM providers can do already for us, and actually keep going up the value chain. And so that's the model that we choose. Like figure out your space, and maximally use like the innovation that's happening in the industry. But then build a significant layer on top of that, so that you can make that technology accessible to your customers.
Given the importance of the foundation models to your business, how do you manage the fact that AI is evolving at such a rapid pace? And how do you balance the stability of your business and product direction while these underlying capabilities are just shifting all the time?
We have no choice. You have to like take advantage of the rapid innovation that is happening in the industry. Otherwise, you're going to be left behind, and you have to fundamentally change your execution model. We have to um, when we started Glean, the we sort of very understood at a very at a fundamental level, what technologies we had available from open source and cloud. And then you get to sort of build your roadmap, and you build a 1 year roadmap. And that's not no longer how things work today. Like now technology changes on a monthly basis, and so you have to fundamentally change your architecture. For like one of the things we changed as an example is that we don't have an annual or a quarterly planning process. We switched to a monthly planning process in terms of how we're going to actually build our technology, because every month there's new things to look at, and you have to quickly adapt. The other thing that we also added is this concept of the well figure out what you're going to throw every month in technology that you've built. This is a new fundamental way of building tech startups, is that you will become obsolete if you actually hold on to technology that you build for multiple years, because all of that technology that you built 2 years back is most likely obsolete at this moment. And so you have to constantly think of this execution model, where not only are you thinking about new things to build, you're also very actively thinking about things that you need to actually throw away, and actually leverage the innovation from the industry to replace that.
We have another question from Twitter from Arsalan Khan again, who says, since most AI and data is created in English or Chinese, do you think startups should also focus on non-English or Chinese? And does this create a digital divide?
First, the content is created in many, many different languages. Yes, English is dominant in some ways, but there is plenty of content, plenty of systems, in different languages. And I think what AI makes it possible today is it actually helps you build products that work that are global in nature. It's much easier today to build a product that you can actually bring to customers in all parts of the world. You can localize your products much easier with AI. You can make it work in Japanese and in Korean and Hindi and all the different languages at a much faster pace. This is one of the a a core capability of AI. But then in terms of biases and the digital divide, it is true that and it's been true forever, even on the internet, even pre-AI, when you go in Google and when you search for information, there's always that bias that creeps in, because English dominates as the source of knowledge in the world, right? And so that's a good one. That's a problem. I don't have a good answer on how to sort of resolve that. As AI becomes more and more capable, how do you make sure that it's taking everybody's point of view, it's taking all the knowledge that's out there. I think one thing maybe I should add is that um, we have more capability today with AI to process even non-digitized content in a much easier way. So hopefully there's some silver lining on that side, that you can actually um, make use of data, knowledge, content in different languages more than ever before with AI.
Let's talk about startups now from the perspective of enterprise buyers, which is a very important part, of course, of any startup's life cycle. If you're an enterprise startup, do you have advice or a framework that enterprise buyers can use for evaluating AI startups, especially given the fact that, as you pointed out, every startup these days is using AI, and the
Yeah.
hype is so intense. Very often, it's hard to sort through the claims to find out what's real and what's not. And I'll just mention one thing here that I remember traditional software companies, ERP vendors, and other enterprise software companies. And I have to say, the situation, 20 years ago was no different from that standpoint now. I mean, software companies make outlandish claims. And so what should
Yeah.
IT buyers and line of business buyers do about it?
This is one of the toughest problems, for an enterprise buyer today. I think the AI industry has done a bit of disservice, um, making bold claims, but then not being able to follow through. Like it's very easy to create really amazing demos and visuals, for what AI can do for you. And enterprise buyers have and they've realized that as they try these products out, that the claims often are were much larger than the reality. So I think I would say maybe let me take a step backwards and then first talk about well, what should you even do? I think there should be a plan for um, how you're going to roll out AI inside your enterprise. And I feel centralizing that, and having um, a core, AI strategy for your enterprise, first of all, is the right way to start. Think about all the things you'd like to do this year with AI. What are the different areas where you'd like to actually see AI make an impact? You can pick a few departments. You can say that, well, for our engineering teams, for our customer service team, these are the top 2 or 3 priorities, where we, want AI to actually make an impact. So first build that roadmap and build that together in your enterprise, the CIO, or if you've chosen to have a, a, a head of AI, a chief AI officer type of, role in your enterprise, let them, give them that charter of making sure they're working with all the different, functional teams, and you come up with a desired roadmap for AI for you for this year. So you start there. Now, in terms of the number of vendors is not just Michael, as you said, it's not just the startups. It's actually every existing software company is also an AI company. They all have AI things to sell to you, and I think you have to make some decisions there. What's the right strategy for you? We feel that like no you have to control how many AI products you're going to actually bring in. It's very hard to evaluate. It's not easy, by the way. It's just the time that you have to spend trying to evaluate every single AI product is enormous. Setting those systems up, getting them up and running in your environment, then testing them, and you sort of companies have gone through this exercise where they spent 6 months, and just to find out that that this thing didn't work. So what are the right strategies? So my suggestions, I have two pieces of advice. Number one, basically work with fewer, number, don't have too many POCs, start with a few, so that you can do justice to them. And second, instead of relying on demos and getting excited by a presentation, well, you can have a safer strategy, which is well, go and for every vendor that you work with, see if they have proof points. Go and make them connect you with customers that they were able to create success for. So I think that is it's a lot more helpful. Instead of evaluating, actually have those conversations with your peers in the industry and see where they're achieving success. If you tried 4 things, you see one thing that's successful, share that story with others, and they will share with you. And that's probably the way to sort of scale. And maybe this is a plug for Glean, but the way we think about AI is that, well, fundamentally, all AI in your enterprise is about making, working with some data that's in your enterprise, using the reasoning and intelligence powers of the language models, and then after that doing some work which you're again going to save, in your enterprise systems. That work is going to get recorded and saved in your enterprise systems. So ultimately, so fundamentally, when you think about all AI use cases, they're about working with your enterprise information, um, and and then making, applying AI on it to do some, to actually make some magic happen. And so we chose a different strategy with Glean, which is that, well, why don't we actually build a system that's connected to all of your enterprise data, right? That's what Glean is. And now we're giving you this platform where you can go and build like many of these agents, many of these applications yourself. And that way, like, with this horizontal strategy, you can do a much better job at security, governance, also like not having to buy many different products. Like, it's more cost effective, and allows you to sort of like, get more value through like, through one product.
All right, we're almost out of time. So, Arvind, I'm going to ask you a bunch of questions, some from me, some from the audience listening, and I'll ask you to respond very quickly. From an enterprise perspective, the build versus buy decision, how should enterprises make that choice? Very quickly, please.
It's a build plus buy. You have to make sure that you get as much turnkey technology as you can, but you have to also remember that it's not going to be enough. Like, to add true value, you will have to, build on top of those systems.
From Twitter, a big hurdle for AI and LLM platforms is that they are not integrated with workflows. How do you see the market evolving?
That's exactly right. And I think you have to build that layer. One of the key techniques for that has been RAG. So you take all of your enterprise data, knowledge systems, workflows, and you actually build the this a retrieval system and an action system on top of all of your enterprise data and systems, and then you connect with AI. Like, that's exactly what the problem that we solve with Glean.
Another one from Twitter. Who, the CTO, CFO, COO, Chief Digital Officer, who creates AI strategy? And should the Chief AI Officer report directly to the CEO?
That's a good idea. Like, so if you actually have a Chief AI Officer, having them report to the CIO or the CEO could be a good strategy, because this is a company-wide effort. So like, if you don't associate it with a function, that's actually better in my opinion. And but otherwise, like, I think it's not, don't be rigid. Like, like whoever is motivated, who's excited, and and has the capability, let them drive the efforts initially, and like you can always figure out how to reorganize later, like, in a more scalable way.
Here we have another question from Twitter, and this is about pain. If AI startups are getting more lean, are older AI startups at a disadvantage? And as these older startups become more lean because more efficient using AI, what is the implication for employment and their workforce?
So on the first question, there is indeed a first mover disadvantage in AI, because when technology changes so fast and you have some of that legacy code base in your systems, like it makes you a little bit less agile. So, well, that's part of like, how it always is. Like, as a new startup, you always have the agility advantage, and as a startup that's a little bit older, well, like, work hard on modernizing, your systems, your stack, so that you can so that you don't fall behind for those reasons. And then in terms of employment, I think I'll just say one thing. I've not seen people losing employment because of AI. Yeah. Like, we work with so many large enterprises. We're bringing so much automation and efficiency for them. But every enterprise that we work with, they actually are concerned with both bottom line and top line. And so when they get some wins, nobody's, giving up their team members. Like, they're not actually, they're just actually thinking about like, well, I can do more. And so companies are actually building products at a faster pace. They're getting more things done. So I'm not super worried. Like, I think like, as like I will come back to the point that, well, like, just stay relevant. That's the thing that matters for you as an individual. If you learn how to use AI, you will have no problems, in the future.
You're advocating maintaining intellectual curiosity. I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, because as AI drives efficiency gains,
Yeah.
if you're intellectually current on what's going on, you can adapt and work around the changes that are taking place.
Yeah, and companies are really hungry. They're really hungry for AI experts, for AI talent. So like, so become one. I think it's going to be good for you.
What advice do you have for entrepreneurs considering starting an AI startup?
Number one, conviction. Like, stick with your idea. Don't give up. And number two, well, like, if you want to succeed, like, be ready to work very, very hard. And then the last thing I would say is that, a company is all about people that you build it with. So like, focus on like having a great founding team, and spend a lot of time, trying to get the right people, the right employees, in your organization. And like, when you get the right people, they will they will build great products. They will make you succeed.
Final thoughts or advice for CIOs who are making AI investment decisions? Very quickly, please.
Focus on security. Focus on the like, centralizing, like your AI software stack. And I think the last thing is, that I would say is that, like, try to sort of get small wins. This is my advice. Like, don't like create projects where, if it doesn't deliver 50% success, it's a failure. Like, force every, team, every function in your team, like in your organization, to pick, one or two wins for AI, like, every quarter, and see how that goes.
All right. And with that, we are out of time. A huge thank you to Arvind Jain from Glean. Arvind, thank you so much for taking your time to be with us today.
Thank you so much. It was a lot of fun.
And thanks to everybody who watched, and especially you folks who asked amazing questions. You guys are truly awesome. Before you go, subscribe to our newsletter. Join our community. Go to CXOTalk.com. Subscribe to the newsletter. Check it out. And we'll see you again next time, everybody. We have awesome shows coming up talking about AI. See you later.